Welcome everyone to Coach Ben's Case by Case. Today's case is Our Daughter Dresses Like a Vampire. Wow. Talk about just in time for Halloween. Let's go ahead and jump right into this case to see what exactly is going on with this highly concerned husband and his daughter. Is it a serious problem or not? Time to dive in.
I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter. My wife is 31. In high school, my wife was a popular girl stereotype. Pink, blonde, chunky highlights in her brown hair. This was the mid to late 2000s. She was on the cheerleading team, had lots of friends and boyfriends, was well-known and liked. She was basically the living embodiment of the picture-perfect girl from those cheesy 2000s high school movies. And then she got pregnant. When she was 15, she had her daughter. She doesn't know who the father is, and any potential fathers for the girl up and left way back when. Her daughter is recently 16. I never wanted kids, I found them annoying. But I fell in love with my wife and got married when she was 20, and I was 23 after dating for 2 years. We hit it off, and I married her and decided to suck it up around the kid.
All right, so a couple in their 30s. We have a 34-year-old guy, the husband, and a 16-year-old stepdaughter. His wife is 31. In high school, my wife was a popular girl stereotype. Pink, blonde, chunky highlights in her brown hair. Okay. This was the mid-late 2000s. She was on the cheerleading team. All right, so a lot of femininity going on here. Very feminine, very classic, had lots of friends and boyfriends. Oh my, boyfriends. Well, that could be something to keep in mind. Was well known. Okay, she was a little bit popular and liked. She was basically the living embodiment of the picture-perfect girl from those cheesy 2000s high school movies. Yeah, there were quite a bit of cheesy movies there. And then she got pregnant. Okay, well, that's kind of a little bit blunt, but all right, so a good definition on his wife. I suppose maybe that has something to deal with what we're going to see here soon. When she was 15, she had her daughter. Oh, my goodness. Well, we have to keep that in mind. 15 years old. 15. To have a daughter that young. All right, let's see what happens. She doesn't know who the father is. Oh. Okay, so this is a bit extreme, isn't it? This is almost as extreme as it gets. Having a child at 15 years old, you don't even know who the father is. That's quite a crime. And any potential fathers for the girl up and left way back when. Her daughter is recently 16. I never wanted kids. Okay, so it's her daughter. I found them annoying. Well, that's not a good attitude. Finding kids annoying by this husband here who's writing this. But I fell in love with my wife and got married when she was 20. All right, so that's 5 years later after having her daughter. That's kind of really soon, but okay. And I was 23 after dating for 2 years. Okay, that's good. Dating for 2 years. Pretty much seeing each other 2 years before putting a ring on it. We hit it off, and I married her and decided to suck it up around the kid. Okay, so he doesn't like kids. That's not really good. You know, I highly advise people out there, if you're going to get into a relationship, know that either they might have a child or children of their own, what people normally call baggage, which is kind of pretty crude. You know, kids of their own, or if you guys have an unwanted pregnancy or a planned pregnancy, regardless, you can't have an attitude like that. That's a very negative attitude to say, you know, I don't like kids. I mean, that's kind of, that's not a good attitude. That's not positive. But let's go ahead and move on and see what's going to develop with this case.
I never planned to absolutely love being a dad to her specifically. Kids still annoy me. But my daughter, stepdaughter technically, was different. She was quiet, nerdy even at a young age. I married her mother when she was 5, and we clicked right away. We went on daddy-daughter dates every weekend. I played dolls with her, let her paint my nails and do makeup on me. I drove her to and from school in my cop car. We even did daddy-daughter duo costumes for Halloween. Over the past 2 years, she's developed a darker dress style. I don't know what the proper subculture of her outfits are, but according to her, she's dressing like a horror game protagonist and a Monster High character. Purple is her main color she incorporates into this specific aesthetic blend, as she calls it. I don't get it, but maybe that's because I'm a man in my 30s, I don't know. She likes ghosts, tarot cards, vampires, zombies, aliens, creepy Victorian dolls.
All right, what do we have here? I never planned to absolutely love being a dad to her specifically. Kids still annoy me. Well, there he goes again. But my daughter, stepdaughter technically, was different. She was quiet, nerdy, even at a young age. I married her mother when she was 5. Right. And we clicked right away. See? It's not that bad. Gotta stay open-minded. We went on daddy-daughter dates every weekend. I played dolls with her. That's a nice father. Good father. Good for you. See? You had a negative attitude. You had to be Mr. Scrooge and learn the hard way. But hey, better late than never. Let her paint my nails and do makeup on me. Isn't that sweet? I drove her to and from school in my cop car. So he's a cop. A police officer, I imagine. I mean, you can't just get a cop car. So his squad car, right? We even did daddy-daughter duo costumes for Halloween. Sounds like a lot of fun. See, he's getting into it. Now, how's the wife? That's what I want to know. Over the past 2 years, she's developed a darker dress style. Okay, we're talking about the daughter here. I don't know what the proper subculture of her outfits are, but according to her, she's dressing like a horror game protagonist and a Monster High School character. Purple is her main color she incorporates into this specific aesthetic blend, as she calls it. I don't get it, but maybe that's because I'm a man in my 30s. No, I get it. I get it. I've seen many little girls dress like this. It's like a gothic look. I've seen the Monster High craze. I can't believe it's still going on, but okay. Maybe they have tons of seasons. Who knows? It's like this animation show for kids. I don't know. She likes ghosts, tarot cards, vampires, zombies, aliens, creepy Victorian dolls. Yeah, but this is what little kids are into. They like crazy stuff. You know, like slime from monsters, even back then with Ghostbusters. You know, we get the picture. Let's go ahead and move on because we don't have too much to work with here. But perhaps this is what is going to lead to something more serious. Let's find out.
I don't get it, but also I don't care because if it makes her happy, so what? She's also an introvert and prefers to play games on her computer or read fantasy occult novels rather than hang out with other teens her age. She has friends, so I'm not too worried about her being completely withdrawn. I'm just glad I don't have to drive her around since she only has a learner's permit currently. My wife hates this. My wife always wanted a girly girl. Pinks and pastels and flowers and all that. She wants our daughter to get a boyfriend, be more social, be a cheerleader like she was. Which in itself is valid. I get it. I'm sure most every parent has preferences for what they want their kid to turn out like. And some disappointment when they stray from that fantasy is valid.
Okay, so now we know what's going on here. I don't get it, but also I don't care because if it makes her happy, so what? That's a good attitude. Nice father. She's also an introvert. That means a little shy, for those of you who don't know, and prefers to play games on her computer or read fantasy occult novels. Wow. Sounds pretty nerdy, but also intellectual if you ask me. Rather than hang out with her teens her age, other teens, she has friends, so I'm not too worried about her being completely withdrawn. No, nothing wrong so far. I'm just glad I don't have to drive her around since she only has a learner's permit currently. My wife hates this. Whoa, here we go. We run into the big problem. My wife always wanted a girly girl, pinks and pastels and flowers and all that. She wants our daughter to get a boyfriend. Wow, my goodness. At 16? I mean, she can wait. I don't know why she's being so pushy there. That's kind of, well, to each their own, but let's see. Be more social? Be a cheerleader like she was? Oh, great. This sounds like one of those dads, for example, who says, well, this was my sport. This is going to be your sport too. And I guess this is kind of a more rare instance where the mother wants the daughter to be what she was. Be a cheerleader like she was, which in itself is valid. I get it. I'm sure most every parent has preferences for what they want their kid to turn out like. Okay, I understand. And some disappointment when they stray from that fantasy is valid. Well, it's not really a fantasy. It's because it worked out for her, so she wants it to work out for her daughter. It's understandable, but, you know, for your wife to really hate that your daughter is choosing to dress the way she wants, she doesn't sound like a spoiled brat, as some may say. You know, just ungrateful, undisciplined. She sounds very disciplined. She's minding her own business, doing her own thing. She has preferences. Certain types of entertainment. At least she's reading. And at least she actually, you know, to put on makeup is a meticulous task. You know, she's not just splotching it on, I imagine. So she's learning. That is feminine. I'm not sure why the wife is so pushy. But let's go ahead and dive deeper into the case because we still don't have enough to work with, despite what was being described. I mean, the scenario is described. You know, the scene is set. Now we just need to know a bit more before we make our assessment.
My wife will constantly takes and hides my daughter's darker room decor. She constantly gets pastel dresses for our daughter, tells her to wipe off her dark eye makeup, tries to set her up on dates with jock types from my daughter's school, and convince her to sign up for both school and summer activities like cheerleading or volleyball. I could have put up with all of that. I really could have. But a few weeks ago, I woke up to my wife finally hitting her breaking point. I woke up in the middle of the night to my wife screaming and having what I can confidently describe as a borderline meltdown. She was crying and saying all she ever wanted was a normal daughter who likes pink and is a cheerleader and has a boyfriend and will give her grandkids. I had to drag her out the hallway after 30 minutes of this. I kept thinking it would stop, but it kept going on and on. My daughter was just staring at this whole thing in the doorway of her room.
Oh my. Now the plot thickens. All right, let's go ahead and review this. My wife will constantly takes and hides my daughter's darker room decor. Remember, she wants her daughter to be surrounded in pink and pastels and flowers. Not this dark gothic nonsense, right? Monster High stuff. She constantly gets pastel dresses for our daughter. Sounds pretty forced, like a helicopter parent, but on steroids here. Tells her to wipe off her dark eye makeup. You know, this is kind of classic. I myself grew up with my sister, who was the oldest out of us four, and she was into a band that I have reviewed on this channel called The Cure. And they had all the dark eye makeup and everything, and my mom hated it. So I can relate to this because my sister was very stubborn and rebellious. So this daughter is the same. So I completely understand. You know, that's her thing. I don't think you should force her to push her. Hey, wear this, because that's what my mom did to us. You will wear this shirt. You will wear these pants. You will put this type of cologne on. You will comb your hair this way and that way. I mean, it was just a helicopter parent, overprotective, the works, controlling you, narcissistic, manipulation. And this wife, his wife is sounding much like a narcissist here. You're being way too hard on your kid and she's not even doing anything wrong. Imagine that. A well-behaved daughter, maybe she just likes the darker side of the makeup box. Nothing wrong with the purples and the blacks as long as she's not acting immature, disrespectful. So let's go on here. Tries to set her up on dates. You see, this is the strange part. This is very strange. You know what many call daddy issues. It's a lack of maturity with some women out there trying to push others to do things. Like I said, narcissistic. I mean, it's all about you. It's not about what your daughter wants. I mean, why are you trying to... This is great that she's not thinking about dating anyone. Let her be a kid. She's 16 years old. You're trying to hook her up on dates already? I mean, this is really rare for a mother to do this. You know, usually dads will do this with their sons and be like, okay, son, it's about that time. But a mother to her daughter, this is like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, the complete opposite. With jock types, aren't those like the dangerous ones? The machismo, the macho style guys out there, young men. That's the last people you want. The athletic ones. That's usually the ones that mothers are protective of because they could be violent. Too much aggression, too much testosterone going on there. From my daughter's school. Well, at least it's from the school of all things. But that doesn't mean just because you're trying to pick somebody from a school that, oh, these guys are going to be gentlemen to your daughter. I would be a little bit protective regardless of where you find jock types. And a mother of all things. So clearly the mother has problems here. Mental and emotional problems we're going to go over. And convince her to sign up for both school and summer activities like cheerleading or volleyball. So she's also controlling what kind of extracurricular activities that she participates in. Very controlling, very manipulative here. I could have put up with all of that. I really could have. But a few weeks ago, I woke up to my wife finally hitting her breaking point. My goodness. Talk about obsessed with controlling your own daughter. And not even minding how your husband feels about all this. I woke up in the middle of the night to find my wife screaming and having what I can confidently describe as a borderline meltdown. My goodness. She was crying and saying all she ever wanted was a normal daughter. She is normal. She just likes the Monster High School stuff. What is wrong with you? Who likes pink and is a cheerleader and has a boyfriend. It's like she's trying to live vicariously through her daughter. It's very disturbing, actually. This is very abusive, if you ask me. Very abusive. Controlling your daughter who's just minding her own business, going to school, trying to do the right thing, not even desiring to have a boyfriend at 16. That's any mother's dream. I mean, you're too young to know anything about love. I mean, it's okay if you have a boyfriend at that age, but you should be focused on school. You know? I mean, if it happens, it happens. But that's more of a caution. It's not something that parents should desire. I mean, they should encourage it if it happens, fine. You know, if your daughter finds somebody. But, I mean, trying to force it, that's a whole nother situation. So clearly something's happening with the wife, mentally and emotionally. And will give her grandkids. My goodness, already talking about grandkids. And her daughter's only 16 years old. Talk about extreme. I had to drag her out the hallway. You have to drag your wife outside in the hallway? After 30 minutes of this. That's a long time to be talking about her obsession. About wanting to control her own daughter. I kept thinking it would stop. But it kept going on and on. My daughter was just staring at this whole thing in the doorway of her room. Great. Way to traumatize your daughter. Not trying to be so, judgmental, but my goodness. I mean, that's just a horrible mother right now. I mean, you're waking up screaming and complaining that you can't control your daughter's life. That it's not going exactly... This isn't a game of chess. You don't control your daughter like a pawn. You don't control your kids like this. And it doesn't have to be through... I mean, it looks like this is various ways of control. Controlling the way she behaves, the way she thinks, what she's going to want to do with her life. Even extracurricular activities. This is an obsession. An unhealthy obsession, if you ask me. So let's go... I mean, she's observing this too. So let's go ahead and move on. to the conclusion, shall we?
What caused this meltdown from my wife? My daughter dyed purple over the blonde streaks, chaste highlights my wife had forced her to get in her hair, which wasn't even breaking a house rule, as my wife and I have both told her she can do whatever she wants with her hair as long as she doesn't stain too many towels. It's been weeks, and my daughter won't talk to her mom. My wife is still up with her antics, but now it's in overdrive. Every day she brings home some type of trendy clothing in pink or pastels and tries to give it to my daughter. My daughter is getting fed up and stays in her room all day and has confessed to me she can't wait for school to start back up in a few weeks so she can get out the house and be with her friends again. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to side with anyone in this situation. I understand my wife wants a daughter who she can relate, and my daughter wants a mom who understands her. I don't know what I can or should do. I need help. I need advice.
Wow. So more and more conflict. More and more. We're just way beyond the plot thickening. It's at the thickest it can possibly get. What caused this meltdown from my wife? My daughter dyed purple hair over the blonde streaks highlights my wife had forced her to get in her hair. So even controlling what color hair your daughter is allowed to have. Like a doll, like a puppet. That's why I say narcissistic. Which wasn't even breaking a house rule. No, clearly your daughter is not breaking any house rules. It's your wife that's breaking the one who set the rules in the first place. As my wife and I both have told her, she can do whatever she wants with her hair as long as she doesn't stain too many towels. That's pretty fair. It's been weeks, and my daughter won't talk to her mom. Of course not. I mean, she's traumatized. So much control. It's insane. I mean, this is abuse, people. This is straight up parents abusing their own child. My wife is still up with her antics. Yeah, talk about antics. You mean abuse. Abusive behavior. But now it's into overdrive. Like, every day she brings home some type of trendy clothing in pink. Of course it's going to be pink. I could have guessed that. Or pastels, and tries to give it to my daughter. You mean, probably just going to throw it inside her room or put it underneath her pillow and force her to wear whatever. My daughter is getting fed up. Yeah, the husband should be fed up too. And stays in her room all day because she's traumatized. Way to go. What's so surprising here is that it's the mother doing all this. I mean, usually you have an abusive father for the most part, I'd say. But nope. I could be even wrong. Maybe nowadays it's 50-50. Because there's so many moms out there who have just... Even my mom. She used to be a great mom. She turned to the dark side over the years, and I actually grew up to see that. So, it's not the only narcissistic mother. Here's another one. So, staying in your room all day, when she was living a comfortable life, having friends, going out, doing whatever she wanted, you know, reading some cool books, just enjoying her life, her youth, and has confessed to me she can't wait for school to start. Wow. This is as bad as it gets for a child. In a few weeks so that she can get out of the house and be with her friends again. My goodness, I actually know what that feels like. When the domestic life is so bad, it just feels like a zoo, a prison that you just have to escape. The Matrix itself, if you will. With your parents as agents. Only in this case, it's her own mother. And daughters are supposed to be super close to their mothers, and sons are supposed to be super close to their fathers. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. No, you need to be a husband, a protective father. I know it's not your child organically, but you are the father now. You have to take a stand, but I can understand what he's saying because technically it's not his daughter, but it is because they're together, right? So of course he doesn't know what to do. A rock in a hard place. What's happening here is that your wife is literally abusing your daughter. I mean, you have to accept her as your daughter, regardless if she was your child or not initially. Well, now she is. If you want to be the husband, now you are the father. You are the father. So you need to protect her. What's happening here is that your wife is abusing your daughter. What are you going to do about it? Allow it to happen? You have an abusive wife. I don't even know how she's like as a wife to you. How she treats you. I can only imagine because you're a cop. You're a police officer. Based on the squad car description in the beginning of this case. So you must have some tough skin. So who knows? We don't know, and we'll never know, what kind of wife she is to the husband. Because we're talking about the wife, the mother abusing the daughter, but we have no idea how the wife treats the husband. It could be abusive too, but he's not mentioning it because he's solely focused on what to do about this mother-daughter situation and him caught in between. I don't want to side with anyone in this situation. Why is he so hesitant? You are the father. You are the husband. You have to put your foot down because she's breaking the house rules. And it should be the rules of the relationship. Many people say, unconditional love. That's wrong. Love is 100% conditional. There will be no abuse. You cannot allow that condition to be made because, oh, it's okay if you're abusive. I'll accept you just the way you are, unconditionally. Wrong. If they're abusive, it ends there. Something has to change right here, right now. And your daughter is being abused, and she's abusing her own daughter. You're just going to sit there and ask everybody else in the world, what am I going to do about this? It's okay to ask for help and advice. But what you should have done was stopped it right there and then. And talked very seriously to your wife. You said you dragged her out into the hallway. But what exactly happened? Because obviously she didn't listen to you. I understand my wife wants a daughter who she can relate. No, she wants a daughter she can manipulate, not relate. That's her twisted fantasy, her abusive twisted fantasy. Control and manipulation. But you got to remember, she had her daughter at 15 years old and she doesn't even know who the father is. That she's traumatized. She's stuck in a world where none of us are going to be able to understand. She's supposed to be happy with her daughter and with her husband. Why is she not happy? We don't know how the husband is. So we don't have that piece of the pie. Because obviously she sounds unhappy. To want to control your daughter's every move, it takes a truly miserable person to want to have the urge to do that. And my daughter wants a mom who understands her. Of course. I mean, you understand your own daughter. Of course she wants a mom to... That's what's the wrong in this picture. Why can't her mom understand her? I don't know what I can or should do. I need help. I need advice. That's horrible. I mean, if it ended right there, I would tell you to be a man, to be a father, to be a husband. You don't have to return the abuse. You don't have to get all aggressive and violent. I would never advise that. But unfortunately, many fathers would do that in this situation. Start abusing the wife. All you have to do is protect your daughter. Even if it's not your daughter, well, that's your stepdaughter, regardless, okay? But you have to protect her. She's suffering in this situation. And you're doing nothing. You're not taking a stand. Anyways, let's go ahead and listen to the conclusion, because I do have the conclusion. It was way too long to include into here. So what happened was his wife and daughter finally started talking again after both of them attended therapy. Weeks long worth of therapy. Can you imagine that? It took therapy for the mother and therapy for the daughter. By the way, the daughter was already suffering from somebody bullying her. So she was already in therapy for somebody bullying her at school. So imagine that. Your daughter comes back home from school and is dealing with the bully at school. And that's probably why she retreats into those novels, those occult novels, getting into the dark makeup, because she's reflecting how she feels. The same thing happened with my sister. She put on all that dark makeup to reflect, to project how she feels inside. Dark. So the mother should have known this, but she's obviously not intelligent. By the way, let me just quickly get this out of the way. His wife did apologize to both her husband and daughter for being so pushy and extreme. And her daughter accepted the apology. Their daughter now gets along well with her mother. And everything looks to be normal, he says. That's his update. That was the latest of the latest in this case. Like I said, it was too long of a description. That's exactly the gist of it. They both sought therapy. Maybe like a month long, a couple of weeks long. It doesn't matter. Now, going back to what I was saying about the makeup. For you parents out there, or for those of you couples out there who are looking forward to becoming parents, pay attention. Because the way your son or daughter dresses, in this case, we'll just talk about the daughter. The daughter here was wearing black eye makeup, purple hair, gothic, Monster High style. That's a clear sign that something's going on. But they already knew this. They just couldn't put two and two together. They said, oh, we don't know why our daughter's dressing like that. No, that's nonsense. That's garbage. You should have connected the dots that she's already into therapy for the bully at school. Nobody's going to be happy with the bully at school. So she's projecting her own emotions through that dark eye makeup. You know, you can't really blame the parents because they're just not that intelligent in this case, sadly. And so one thing led to another. Because then you have the mother all traumatized. She didn't get past her past trauma. Why wasn't she in therapy for what happened back then? Getting pregnant at such a young age and having a child at 15 years old. Why wasn't she into therapy? How come she's messed up mentally and emotionally? Why wasn't the wife taken care of mentally and emotionally by a qualified therapist before you even got married? After she had her child. Why wasn't she taken care of? Why did you guys wait this long and not anticipate that something could go wrong in the future, especially with that hidden fantasy? That's why I always say to couples, you guys better be able to read each other like an open book before even thinking about a lifelong relationship. Because garbage like this can happen. Abusive cases. Either spousal abuse or abuse to the children, or your children end up abusing you. Because the domestic life is not secure. It's not peaceful. It's chaotic. And there's no reason for a chaotic domestic life for anyone. In any circumstance, whether it be a family scenario or a spousal scenario, no. Your domestic life should be peaceful and tranquil and loving and supportive and not violent. Domestic violence is a huge problem. And sadly will always be, from my assessment of things. The way our world is, sadly, domestic violence, verbal abuse, physical abuse, chronic abuse to the children, to the partners against each other, spousal abuse. And it's all going to happen because of lack of maturity, a lack of intelligence, a lack of, contingency planning to anticipate what could happen in the future due to a poor mental state of health, poor emotional health for one or both partners. You guys have to constantly assess, okay, are there going to be any issues? And then you guys have to identify the red flags. Because it's only going to get worse. One thing's going to lead to another. So hopefully, the mom in this case is completely over that silly little fantasy of her well-behaved daughter suffering from a bully at school, already going through trauma and stress. That silly fantasy of wanting her to wear pink all the time to Kingdom Come, till the cows come home, always dressed in pink and pastel and flowers. That's very immature. That's actually very humiliating. Because if your daughter doesn't want to dress like that, leave it alone. Stop forcing her to be a cheerleader if she doesn't want to. Maybe she wants to be a pianist or play the violin. Who knows? Or maybe she wants to be a singer or just dance. But you have to respect her wishes. What your children want is what they should get. As long as they're not being disrespectful, ungrateful, violent, or extremely immature for a child. Of course, you expect some level of immaturity and less intellect. But for the most part, if all those are checkmarked, okay, they're not being this, they're not being that, they're just minding their own business, they're not hurting anybody, should be a green light all the way. But these controlling parents, these narcissistic demons, if you will, they just can't help themselves. They have to control and manipulate their children. They got to take it out on the kids. That's very sick behavior, if you ask me. And I'm trying to stay neutral here in this case, but I don't like to see cases of abuse. And I didn't know exactly how abusive this case was until I actually dived deep into it with everyone here. It is disturbing. And I'm sad if people out there got affected by this case, but just realize that parenting is a very difficult task, but there are no excuses in the end. When you choose to have a child, to bring a child into this world, that is your responsibility to raise them to the best of your ability. No excuses. And if you need help, go seek help. Family counseling, you name it. It's all available. There is no excuse for a mother or a father or both to abuse their children in any way, shape, or form. You chose to bring a child into this world. That's your responsibility. Planned pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy. That is your responsibility. Nobody else to blame but yourself if things go wrong. Now, I will say this as my closing statement for this case. For anyone thinking about having kids, just know, and I've said this before, that there is absolutely no guarantee as far as how they will turn out. No matter how perfect of a parent you are, your children can still end up deep in the dark side of life. Simply do your best and hope for the best. That's my advice to anyone thinking about becoming a parent or who are already parents. You can do your absolute best, but do not push them, do not force them, do not try to manipulate them, because now you're making a bad situation worse. They're going to grow up and learn how to make their own decisions for what they want in their own future. And you have to sit by and simply tell them, you know what, I'm going to be here if you need anything. If they go against your wishes, your advice, that's too bad. You just have to accept it. You can be there for them, but nothing you say or do will change their mind, unfortunately. If you end up with narcissistic children, for whatever reason, bad influence, you chose the dark side for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. So you could be the best parent ever. Just know that it's not your fault if your children estrange you. It's not your fault. This daughter here could easily end up estranging her own parents. Her dad, for not defending her enough and preventing this abuse, like a father should, and her mother, because she's the abuser. She could easily run away. My sister ran away multiple times, and then she stayed away from her abusive parents, our parents. So just keep all of that in mind. I'm not going to drag this out too long. That's the case for today, and much love to everybody. And I'll see you guys in the next case. This has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Much love, everybody.